Welcome to the executive summary in English of our EID participation meeting in February or March by now. As you may know, we have had a daily participation meeting in hybrid form last week. For that reason, it was not possible to also do a live executive summary in English as we normally do. And I do now a recording for those who would like to have the main content in English. My name is Rolf Rauschenbach. I'm the Information Officer for the Electronic Identity with the Federal Office for Justice with the Swiss government. I will now provide you with the main topics that have been covered in this participation meeting. For those who would like to get the full package of slides, please go to GitHub. You will find there also the English and French version of these slides. I will show you now just a selection of them, which I deem the most important. The meeting was kicked off by Tiziano Esposito, who was representing the Federal Office for Information Technology. He was followed by a greeting message provided by Michael Schöll, the Director of the Federal Office of Justice. Although I must add, he was actually not able to come, and his message was delivered then by Urs Paul Hohenstein. But if you would like to go to the recording of the participation meeting, then you will be able to hear this also. Maybe I should add that in general, the main content of the participation meeting was recorded and is already available on YouTube also, but they're mainly in German. Then the agenda of the participation meeting was as follows. In the morning, we provided mainly information on the EID program provided by us, the Swiss government, and in the afternoon, we've had a number of external presentations also. We started with a presentation on the progress status and the planned implementation. There I will give you all the details just in a minute. And then that was followed by a systems demo where our team made a demonstration on how the online issuance of the EID will take place and the onboarding process, and also the swiyu check application, this mobile application was also demonstrated by our team. Then we've had a number of World Cafés. They have not been recorded and they are not available on YouTube. I give you just a brief overview. There was Ask Me Anything session by us, the EID program, where we covered a number of questions related to the further development and implementation that is now planned. Then there was a session provided by Michel Sali from Swisscom, where he talked about how to move from the pilot environment to the production environment and how Swisscom is planning to handle that. Then we've had Marcel Kessler from the Digital Administration Switzerland, where he was talking about a number of topics, in particular identity management and the EID. Zoe Blanchard from our EID program was presenting the swiyu issuer and verifier journey, how to get onboarded as issuer, how to get onboarded as verifier. Then we've had Vasily Suvarov from the association DIDAS and from Accelerate Swiss, who was talking about use cases and credential catalog. And finally, we've had the open banking project led by Stefan Knaus, who was talking about swiyu in the financial sector. Some of these World Cafés have provided slides, which are also available on GitHub under the same link as I have shown you already. In the afternoon, we've had a number of additional presentations. We've had Educa, which is an organization orchestrating overall stuff in the educational sector in Switzerland, and they have made a proof of concept for the high school diploma, and they have shown that. Then we've had also IATA, the International Association for Air Transport, who was showcasing how they plan to use our trust infrastructure in the context of the global aviation security. Then we've made a joint presentation from the government and also some external partners on how we are going to further develop the swiyu ecosystem. Here again, I will show you a few slides. And finally, the closing, including an award ceremony for a competition among schools in Switzerland for the best EID video. So that was the overall program. I will now focus just on the status in our program at the moment, and then also the swiyu ecosystem. And without further ado, I will start with that presentation, which originally was held by my boss, Urspa, and myself. I will do now everything on my own. And there I would like to start with the press release that has been published last week with the title Strengthening the Acceptance of the EID with Additional Measures. That was a press release provided by the Federal Department for Justice and Police, approved by the Federal Council, where we go into some detail, and now in the presentation in further detail on what are the learnings from the vote in September and a number of other factors that have motivated us to further develop our product. So this is like the general context of this section of my presentation. Mainly, I will talk now about a number of issues. So that there was a report by the Swiss Federal Audit Office. I will give a few comments on that. Then on the introduction date of the swiyu trust infrastructure, of the launch of the electronic identity, then the overall scope for this, some additional measures that we are planning to protect your privacy and to increase the security. Then I will also talk briefly on which identifier technology we are using in the first round of our productive system, and an internal test stage that we are planning within the federal government, and a few additional comments on public beta. Questions and answers will not be covered in this, as it is a pure recording without any interaction. But if you have questions, obviously, please get in touch with us. We are doing this for you, and whatever grounds we have not covered, we are more than happy to cover at a later stage or offline via email or on GitHub. Okay, so maybe you have also seen, we have made a little blog post on that. The Swiss Federal Audit Office has made an analysis, an audit on our program, since the EID program is considered a so-called key project by the Federal Chancellery. These audits take place on a regular basis, disregarding if we do a good or a bad job. So it doesn't mean that there was a problem, there was just, again, the time to look at this by this independent federal agency. And this time around, they decided to focus mainly on security. They have made their audit last summer in August and September. It always takes a certain time until then the report can be published. That was the case in late February. And these reports always contain a number of recommendations by the Federal Audit Office. We, the EID program, have agreed to all these recommendations, and we are already in the process of implementing these these recommendations. So that is just something that we also mentioned now in the participation meeting, and some of these recommendations have also influenced, obviously, these measures that I'm going to present to you just in a minute. Then, with regard to the introduction date of the productive trust infrastructure, so far we've always said earliest would be the third quarter of this year. Obviously, this is a not very specific date, and we have now come up with a target date, which would be the 1st of December, still this year in 26. However, it is very important, this is a target date, this is not yet the fixed date. It depends on a number of factors. In particular, obviously, we have to be at the stage where all the security requirements are met. Also, accessibility is an important topic. There again, this has to be guaranteed. And as I have mentioned in previous executive summaries, there are still a few challenges to the vote from last September that are with the Federal Tribunal, and the decisions have not been made yet. And as long as the Federal Tribunal has not decided on this, obviously the law cannot enter into force and we cannot go productive. So obviously this condition has to be met also. So the target date is December the 1st. However, in addition to the target date, I would like to mention that it is very possible that the launch will take place in stages, meaning that the issuance of the EID will not be available from the first day for millions of people. There will be a queuing process. Obviously, anybody who would like to get the EID can ask for it, but the issuance, the delivery will most probably take some time in the beginning. We really want to be sure that we issue the electronic identity to the right person, and we would like to go there step by step and then scale up the number of EIDs per day issued. Then again, also on the side of the verifiers and of the issuers of other credentials, there it might be that we decide to stage that not everything will be possible from the first day. We do not have any specific details as of today on that topic, but you can be sure that you will be the first to know about that, either via our newsletter or in the next participation meeting. It is very clear to us that this is an important piece of information to you as a potential verifier or as a potential issuer. So we are not going to make you wait more than necessary, but at the moment we just can say the target date is the 1st of December 26. If the conditions are met, we will start potentially in stages, and further details will come as quickly as possible. Now, with regard to the scope of the initial implementation, a number of main points that can be made today. These are not all the elements, but the most important ones, at least in our point of view. So obviously there will be the swiyu wallet available, also swiyu check, this application which allows you to check an EID from mobile to mobile. The issuing, or I should rather say, demanding an EID will be possible from the first day in the online process, that is for sure. The EID that we will issue will be unlinkable. We will use there the approach of batch issuance. Then there will be a number of additional measures that I will go into further detail just in a moment to enhance privacy and security. The support organization for users will be in place. At the moment, you may know that some of the standards that are implemented in the context of the EID and the trust infrastructure are not yet implemented in the version 1.0, sometimes because we are lagging behind, sometimes because these standards have not been finalized, but by the launch, this will be all at least 1.0. And we also will further invest into the open source documentation, so that here everything is clear. So this is more or less the scope for swiyu version 1.0. Now, a number of topics that you are probably looking for also and waiting for will not be included or might not be fully included in this initial scope. For example, the on-site identification, identity verification, meaning that you go to an office where physical passports can be delivered and where you also can apply for an eID. This might be available only at a later stage. Details are not yet all too clear, but here we want to be cautious and not overpromise. Then the offline verification of documents, that is a function of the swiyu wallet that will not be available in the beginning. Also, the federal backup service will not yet be available. Most probably we also not will be able to provide you with a 100% open source wallet app. Just for a brief explanation, the main part of the swiyu wallet, as it is already now available in the different app stores and on GitHub, obviously is open source. However, the SDK for the face verification that is provided by a third-party organization or company, that is a proprietary code, and this is not open source by definition, and this part has to be taken care in that context. Also, an important element to mention, which will not be available from the get-go, is the possibility to issue an electronic identity into a third-party wallet. Third-party wallets in general can be used in the context of our trust infrastructure, but we, the Swiss government, more precisely the Federal Office of Police, will only issue eIDs to the swiyu wallet, not to third-party wallets. Okay, so that is the main scope of the initial product that you can expect hopefully by the 1st of December. Now I would like to give you a little bit more background on these additional measures. And here I will always first go into the current state and then how it will be by December the 1st or whatever the date will be that we actually launch. So at the moment we have allowed that any issuer and any verifier can interact with the swiyu wallet. Due to mainly privacy but also security reasons, we have decided that we will limit the interaction of issuers and verifiers and the swiyu wallet only to those who are registered in the trust registry. That means that only private or legal persons which have a domicile in Switzerland and subsequently also a UID can actually interact with the swiyu wallet. Companies and other organizations that are purely foreign will, at least in the beginning, not be able to interact with the swiyu wallet. Then the question on what do verifiers have to declare in the trust registry when they register. So far, we have asked, or we were planning to ask only for details regarding the identity. Now we would like to go a little bit further, and we will ask also for information on what these verifiers would like to obtain from the users, so which data they would like to get and for what purpose. This information will then be public and will allow us to analyze better in the case of some misuse what has been going on. And actually, if a verifier asks for more data than this verifier has declared in its schema, the users will then get a subsequent warning to that end. Now, a further question which we will address in a different way is what happens with the request for very sensitive data, in particular when the HVS number, the Social Security number, is requested. There, by law, only certain organizations, public organizations or private organizations with a legal mandate can actually ask for this number. So far we have, the plan was to not technically limit such a request. We will now change our setup to the effect that only these organizations that legally are allowed to ask for this number are also technically able, and in any other case such a request would be blocked automatically by the wallet. Now, what happens if somebody is violating these rules, in particular when over-identification is done, so too much information is requested? Then obviously users can make a non-compliance notice. Based on that, we, the Federal Office of Justice, will analyze this case, and in a first step we can delete somebody from the trust registry, and if there's absolutely no cooperation or a very important violation, we may even exclude somebody totally also from the trust registry. Further details on that will be provided at a later stage, particularly in the ordinance that is still in the working. Okay, I have mentioned already the third-party wallets that initially were planned to be allowed from the get-go. Now we will limit the issuance of the electronic identity only to our wallet. For all other credentials, third-party wallets are perfectly fine, of course. Okay, these were the main topics I wanted to touch in that respect. Now, I would like to quickly spend a little bit of time on the topic of the identifier technology. Just brief background, what is an identifier? An identifier could be seen as the digital address of issuers and verifiers that allows people to interact with these, and then the registries, obviously. These identifiers are basically linked to a private key that belongs to the identifier, and based on the private key, the identifier then is able to prove cryptographically that they are in control over a identifier. These identifiers are very important in the long run because they are portable, they are persistent, and even if there are some changes in the infrastructure, the identifier should be always the same, remain the same, and remain stable. Now, as with everything, there are always different ways of doing it. There are in particular two technologies: the public key certificates, the X509 approach. The European Union, for example, in the UDI wallet context is using this technology. And then there's also the decentralized identifiers, the DIDs, that we have been using so far, which have basically the same function. And due to the votes, due to a number of other feedbacks, also evolutions in the technological landscape, we reconsidered our selection of the DIDs, and we came up by basically three different approaches. We could continue as we have been doing with the DIT approach. We could also say, okay, we continue with DIT, but with DIT obviously we are not compatible or interoperable with the EU. So in addition to the DIT identifier approach, we have a partial interoperability stack with the EU, so that the Swiss EID and the EU PITs could be interoperable, but only these credentials. Or we could say, well, we just dump DIT and we implement X509 and basically go along the line of the EU. After quite some analysis and a number of considerations, we have decided to continue for the moment with the DIT, as we have done so far. We have opted for that to minimize our risks. But also we have decided to invest further into the DIT technology, which is rather a new one. We will invest quite some efforts to increase the security, to be on the safe side here. This decision does not mean that we want to stay in a Helvetic island and not be interoperable. If we go for this dual system, or if we switch at a later stage fully to X509 is not yet clear. It is definitely an option. We are aware that this would have a major consequence not only for us but also for all issuers and verifier. So this cannot be taken lightly, but we decided for that to minimize financial and also operational risks. A change of identifiers is not trivial, and since we are relatively close to the launch date, we did not want to take this risk. It allows us to launch relatively soon, but it keeps the option for a integration with the EU open. And it clearly limits our costs. As you know, we have done already quite some testing. The first one was our sandbox, then all this testing around the driver's learning license. In all these tests, now with public beta, in all these tests we have learned quite a lot. It is always important to get feedback from real users, and for that reason we have decided to also do a testing of mainly of the online application and issuance process of the EID before we do the official productive launch, and we will do that with employees from the federal government. I would like to provide you a few details on that. So we will do that already on the productive environment. Potentially about 40,000 people could be part of this testing. We have a legal basis for that, so we will be able to do that also from a legal point of view. These EIDs, which will be issued within this test phase, will be revoked again before the official launch takes place. So the federal employees don't have a long-term benefit from it. Everybody will start from scratch once we start. There again, we use a staged approach. We will start with the people within the EID program, which is a bit more than 100 people. Then we go to the Federal Office of Justice. That's a number a bit above 300. And then we will include the Federal Office of Police, then the Federal Office for Information Technology and Telecommunication, and finally all 40,000 people from all federal administrative units. And we are planning to start this test phase in July. And you can be sure that in one of the next participation meetings, we will provide you also information on how that is going. But I'm quite excited about that, because this will allow us to test technology, usability, the systems, the processes, and so on. Okay, so with this, I come to the end on this package of information that was behind this media release I mentioned to you. In addition to that, we also provided a little bit of news on public beta. Here, I would like to announce an update that will take place, I believe, mid-March. It is an update that's on an issue that has been known for quite some time, and it is an update which is how to say that, it's a breaking change. So issues and verifier who are using public beta at the moment and are not updating will not have a working system anymore. So I really would like to invite all of you to take care of that. For further information, please go to GitHub or get in touch with us, and we help you with that. Furthermore, I would like to mention to you that we have provided to you two tools with which you can test your generic application and also the generic wallet. These are available on GitHub. Feel free to use them. They're optional, but we believe that this could be helpful for you to test your systems before you go live. And again, if you have any questions, suggestions, or whatever, please get in touch with us here, preferably via GitHub. Okay. Now, before I come to an end, I would like to share a few slides with you also on how we further intend to develop the swiyu ecosystem. That was a presentation that was made by Daniel Säuberle from DIDAS, Christoph Hertig from Digital Switzerland, and my colleague Daniel Gallet. And here the message was, okay, the Swiss government will provide this trust infrastructure, and it is really important, obviously, otherwise how could you do anything? But on the other hand, to set up this and build up the ecosystem, we need you, the private sector, other public agencies, and so on. It is not something that we from the Federal Office of Justice and the EID program alone are able to do. For that reason, we really would like to engage with you to provide you with support so that you can get up to speed and become a verifier or even a issuer of some credential. Just as a little refresher, we structure the ecosystem along 3 levels. On the first level, we would have only the EID. That is obviously provided by us, the Swiss federal government. And then on the level 2, we have other government credentials. They can come from another federal agency, but also from cantonal or municipal agencies. A number of these are already in the working. So, for example, the mobile driver's license. Others will come hopefully soon. And here we really encourage cantons, communes, and so on to get started. And then finally, we have the level 3 with credentials provided by private actors. That can be a company, an association, and so on. And here again, a number of actors are already working on this, but I guess more could be done. we would like to support that, and how this is going to happen I will show you now. So from the EID unit at the Federal Office of Justice, we are now 3 people. We have Walid Ahmed, Daniel Galle, and myself, who are working on that, and our role is mainly to coordinate the build-up of the swiyu ecosystem across all 3 levels. We are obviously responsible for the communication for the general public. Walid is mainly helping you with questions of integration. Daniel is taking care of the initial engagement. I am here for communication and other stuff. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. Now, in addition to that, we have launched 2 labels. One is the swiyu Ambassador label. We are giving this swiyu Ambassador label to non-profit organizations that are, through their commitment, contributing exceptionally to the build-up of the swiyu ecosystem. These organizations that receive the swiyu Ambassador level remain in a regular exchange with us, and I would like to really state that this label does not imply any financial compensation by us. It is simply a recognition of the effort and engagement of these non-profit organizations in favor of the build-up of the swiyu ecosystem. And I'm happy to announce that the first swiyu ambassador is Digital Switzerland. You see here on the slide what they have done already and what they're planning. That is really fantastic, and we are looking forward to working with them in building up the swiyu ecosystem. In addition to the ambassador program, if I may say so, we have also the label swiyu Orchestrator. Swiyu Orchestrator is again a non-profit organization that has, in addition to what ambassador provides, also dedicated resources that are working on the build-up of the swiyu ecosystem. And here we have not only a regular exchange between the orchestrator and us, but that is really an ongoing, regular, important information flow between us and the orchestrators. Orchestrators, we assume that there will be not many, because otherwise we have to coordinate and orchestrate the orchestrators. That doesn't make sense. A small number of orchestrators is to be expected. And here again, this label does not imply any financial compensation on our part. So who is going to receive the label swiyu Orchestrator? For the moment, we have decided to provide this label to 2 organizations. It's Digital Administration Switzerland and DIDAS. On level 2, meaning where different state actors are involved on the federal, cantonal and municipal level, it will be Digital Administration Switzerland, who is the swiyu Orchestrator, and then on level 3, meaning the private actors, there it will be DIDAS, who actually will launch a launchpad. They have been able to assemble already a number of organizations who also provide support in that context, and I'm very happy to welcome Digital Administration Switzerland and DIDAS as our 2 swiyu orchestrators. A few words on how the governance of the build-up of the swiyu ecosystem will take place. We will have a steering structure where the public sector will be present, so the Federal Office of Justice, Federal Office of Police, maybe some others, then obviously the orchestrators and also the ambassadors. The specifics are still in the working, but there we will come together on a regular basis and make sure that everybody is aware of what is going on. Then on the more operational level, the swiyu orchestrator will get active, and they orchestrate then all kinds of activities with their stakeholders, as shown on this slide. And we really hope that this is interesting to all of you, either because you are already a issuer or a verifier on public beta and would like to soon move also to the productive system, or if you're not yet active, so that you have additional entry points where you get information and can get up to speed. I really would like to invite anybody to start with that as soon as possible, since the time between deciding to do something and being really ready for launching a productive verification process or a productive issuing process of a credential takes quite some time. And yeah, it would be great if a lot of companies and organizations would be ready at the early stage. With this, I have covered the ground I wanted to cover today in the executive summary. I would like to finish with the announcement of the next participation meeting, which will take place online, regular fashion, on the 2nd of April at 2 o'clock, I should say at 4 o'clock. We will have the regular meeting in mainly German, and at 6 o'clock we will do also a executive summary live, where you will be able to ask questions. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. Again, don't hold back with questions. Write to me, post something on GitHub, and otherwise I wish you a good time and look forward to being in touch with you again in April. Thank you.